Thank you for your interest in the Rocky View County Recreation and Parks Master Plan. This presentation highlights the findings and recommendations of the plan. At the end of the presentation, information will be offered for how you provide input and feedback. In 2019, Rocky View County Council approved the development of the master plan. The county recognizes the value of public recreation and that it should be available to all its citizens. To better address the recreational needs in the county as a whole, it was determined that long-term strategic planning is needed. A group of 5 consulting firms, led by Hargroup Management Consultants, was engaged to develop the master plan on behalf of the county. Public recreation contributes to the well-being of individuals and supports the development of communities. Recreation experiences are diverse and involve physical, artistic, social, and intellectual pursuits. Further, individual well-being can be enhanced through connecting with nature, helping others through volunteering, and simply being active and engaging in recreation. The county has always acknowledged the benefits to the community from the availability of public recreation opportunities. Many policy and planning documents state the importance of recreation in contributing to personal health and enrichment and developing strong citizens, families, and safer communities. While there are many different stakeholders within the recreation system, municipalities in particular have an important role in ensuring that accessible and affordable opportunities are available to residents. Indeed, the basic role of a municipality is to ensure that the broadest range of recreation opportunities are accessible to residents, given available resources. The planning process for the master plan began with the development of a county-wide recreation needs assessment study, which was completed in March of this year. A copy of the needs assessment study is available on the county's website. Various engagement and consultation processes were conducted for the study, including a survey of households about participation and expectations for recreation, a survey of recreation service providers about service delivery, interviews with urban municipal partners about regional collaboration, focus groups with residents about service provision and facility development, and open house events with stakeholders to obtain comments and feedback about the study findings. This needs assessment provided a basis for understanding community expectations and interests for recommendation. To supplement this work, various other research and planning initiatives were undertaken for the master plan. While many different issues exist within the community for recreation, a set of key strategic priorities was identified to guide the planning process. First and foremost, the role of the county in recreation should be reviewed. Further, strategies to help empower the county and how it collaborates with other municipalities were necessary. In addition, clarification about public benefit and how the county supports accessibility of services was needed. Consideration for how the county may help advance community recreation service providers, as well as approaches for the planning and development of recreation on a county-wide basis were examined, particularly for urban communities and future growth areas. In addition, strategies to address maintenance of existing facilities in the county, as well as the development of pathways and trails, parks, and recreation facilities were needed. Other key areas needing review included recreation funding, budgeting, and how current circumstances, such as the COVID-19 pandemic, might affect recreation service provision within the community. Within the master plan, various approaches, tools, and recommendations have been developed. Each area shown on this slide will be highlighted within this presentation. Some of the areas address policies for the county, while other areas provide frameworks and tactics to further enhance and develop recreation services for stakeholders and residents. Patterns of recreation behavior among county residents, based on survey data analysis, have been identified. As a result, 3 categories of leisure orientations are defined. These categories will be used to determine how recreation services are developed and delivered within the community. The first category, termed agricultural leisure orientation, is mainly comprised of rural and small hamlet areas in the county. Residents living in these areas tend to have recreation interests that lean toward home, such as going for walks or riding horses on their properties, and perhaps participating in events and activities at local community halls, curling rinks, and other amenities. They are also comfortable accessing services in Airdrie, Cochrane, Chestermere, Crossfield, Bizaker, and Irricana, because they commonly go to these communities to run errands, shop for groceries, go to school, etc. They are more likely to be employed at home in the county or in the smaller urban communities, and less likely to make trips to Calgary for recreation. There is a tendency for these residents to be older adults or seniors. The second leisure orientation is termed peri-urban or rurban. Residents of these areas have a tendency towards engaging in recreation at home as well, such as going for walks or having home gyms, but also participating in activities at local amenities such as halls, studios, or arenas where a limited range of recreation programs are available. Peri-urban residents are near enough and connected to urban centers such as Airdrie, Chestermere, Cochrane, or Calgary, where they travel for employment or education, which makes these communities viable options for accessing recreation services, whether from public or private providers. As such, residents of this leisure orientation do not rely solely on their local community for recreation opportunities. Springbank and Bearspaw are current examples of the peri-urban leisure orientation, and some areas of Conrich and East Balzac are expected to be future examples. The third leisure orientation is termed urban, and residents living within this leisure orientation tend to rely heavily on the provision of local recreation services, from pathways to various recreation facilities. They value having a broad range of recreation programs in their community, which tends to be supported by the critical mass of population. Their leisure orientation is similar to what might be found in most urban centers in Alberta. Urban leisure orientation are identified in the presented map. Distance may also be a factor for the urban leisure orientation, such as in the case of Bragg Creek. These leisure orientations will be influential in various strategies that have been developed for the master plan. In 2016, the population of Rocky View County was 39,407. Over the past 2 decades, the population has significantly increased. Prior to the pandemic, population growth was expected to continue in the county, although not at the same levels previously experienced, possibly due to the downturn in the economy over the past few years. There are certain areas within the county, however, where growth is expected over the short term, such as Langdon, Harmony, and, to a lesser extent, Conrich, Springbank, Bearspaw, and possibly Balzac West. Hamlet areas, such as Glenbow Ranch, Elbow Valley, Cochrane North, and Greater Bragg Creek, may also develop over the longer term. The population outlook for different areas of the county becomes relevant when considering recreation needs and developments within the community. Over the past few decades, the county implemented a community development approach to public recreation service provision. Essentially, the municipality facilitated service provision through various supports, such as providing recreation grants to community-based organizations, many of which are volunteer-based, to operate facilities and offer recreation opportunities. This is an approach that is commonly used by many rural municipalities within Alberta. However, Rocky View County is different mainly due to its large population size and the expected development of urban hamlets, which are estimated to have populations up to 10,000. The future role of the county proposes more active rather than passive involvement in the recreation system, with enhanced leadership and oversight in the development and implementation of recreation services. In developing this role, new and evolving service delivery models will be considered for public recreation initiatives within the county. Further, a county-wide approach to planning will be implemented, with increased coordination being applied among areas to better direct limited resources toward greater benefit. This approach is also intended to foster greater agility to apply funding to services and initiatives throughout the county, thereby increasing recreation opportunities to everyone and facilitating complementary service provision to avoid duplication and overbuild of services. As well, there will be increased opportunities for collaborating and cooperating with partners, facilitating and directing grants and cost-sharing agreements toward broader benefits for the community and residents, and monitoring community recreation delivery. A new strategic management framework has been proposed for recreation and parks within the county. The vision emphasizes thriving and engaging communities where residents have access to diverse recreation opportunities, while the mandate is based on leadership, support, and guidance for the development of sustainable public recreation services to enhance quality of life and livable communities. Guiding principles highlight the rural heritage of the community and promote resilient communities, equitable resource distribution, responsible growth and development, sustainable development, fiscal responsibility, and partnerships. All the elements presented in this framework are built on existing and proposed strategies developed for the county as presented in the county plan, its strategic plan, and the municipal development plan. The master plan also recognizes that the recreation system is comprised of many different organizations, some being private and others public. Future county initiatives will need to ensure that programs, services, and facilities are broadly accessible to the public and not restrictive by prohibitive costs or fees, levels of skill or abilities, or membership requirements. Any partnerships, initiatives, and contractual arrangements will need to assure that all residents living in the county have equitable and fair access to services, and no one is excluded from participation and involvement. A new tool has been proposed for the county to lead planning and development for recreation facilities. Similar frameworks have been proposed for the county in the past, but have mainly been based on population thresholds. The new Facility Service Level Framework considers additional factors such as population density, types of use or users, operating models, and other factors to assess likelihood of facility development within the different leisure orientation areas in the county. The framework will provide guidance to the county for leading, planning, and identifying facility development opportunities on a county-wide perspective. Complementary to the framework, sets of facility development criteria have been proposed that present important issues to consider when examining opportunities for new or renewal of facilities. County representatives can use these criteria to examine opportunities for facility development and mitigate potential challenges of overbuild of services, ensure sustainability, and enhance transparency within the community. A further planning enhancement being proposed is a new facility development process. Recreation facilities are increasingly becoming complex in terms of programming, technology, and operating systems. The facility development process is intended to support purposeful design, coordination, and stewardship using incremental phased practices that take projects from ideas to eventual development and opening. As projects advance through each phase, County Council will be responsible for decision-making. County representatives will lead facility development projects through each phase of the process. These representatives will be assisted by various groups such as community advisory committees, internal county representatives, and independent planning consultants and potential partners and contractors. A new facility classification system has been developed for the county. Regional facilities will be those that involve coordinated planning, cost sharing, or shared service provision with other urban municipalities. Recreation centers will be those located in the county that typically provide multiple amenities, develop and deliver programs to the community, and require staff with technical knowledge to operate and provide services. Community facilities are amenities that are primarily governed and operated by volunteers and generally involve one or two standalone amenities. An extensive review was conducted of the county's existing recreation grants, agreements, and funding programs. The result of the review is a new framework proposed for recreation funding. It is worth noting that the annual recreation funding budget is $2.14 million for capital and operating grants for recreation facilities and services in the county and agreements with urban municipalities. In the past, the county has collaborated with urban municipal partners to ensure that residents have access to recreation opportunities. In reviewing these collaborations, various approaches have been recommended for working with the county's urban municipal partners, some being more complex than others. In some cases, coordinated collaboration is advisable, such as joint promotions, analytics, and planning. In other cases, supportive or integrative collaboration is preferred, with cost sharing or shared service agreements being developed. Operating grants have been identified for recreation centers, community facilities, and other organizations that provide recreation benefits to the community. Sets of criteria have been identified for these grants based on services provided, public accessibility and use, ability to generate earned and unearned revenues, and management of expenses. Recreation facilities currently exist throughout the county, such as community halls, ice arenas, curling rinks, equestrian centers, and other amenities. The current replacement value estimated for the facilities, not including pathways, trails, and parks, is approximately $120 million. Building condition assessment studies have been conducted for these facilities, and most are in good to acceptable condition. The studies also reveal that life cycle maintenance of around $10 million will be needed for these facilities over the next 10 years. The county's contribution to this life cycle maintenance will be approximately $5 million. Planning for these costs is an important component of the Recreation and Parks Master Plan. It has also been recommended that funding should be established for the development of small-scale facility projects, typically involving capital costs of less than $500,000 to support the development of playgrounds, sports pads, courts and fields, outdoor rinks, etc. throughout the community. Future large-scale facility development projects involving capital budgets of more than $500,000 have been identified and prioritized for the county. To support these initiatives, it has been proposed that annual contributions of approximately $500,000 to $1 million be invested annually from tax levy. This is an approach that has been adopted by a few rural municipalities within Alberta. Due to the implications of the pandemic, this recommendation is suggested for implementation after the next 2 years. Finally, the new recreation funding framework recommends that special levies be considered to help fund future facilities and services, similar to the existing special recreation levy that exists for Langdon. Priorities for recreation facilities proposed for the county over the next 5 to 10 years include the Langdon Recreation Centre, South Springbank Community Centre, planning of facilities in Conrich, the Indus Recreation Centre rink expansion, planning of facilities in Glenbow Ranch, Elbow Valley, and Balzac West and East communities. Longer-term planning is proposed for Cochrane North and Greater Bragg Creek. Over the next decade, priorities have been established for pathways and trails, also known as the Active Transportation Network. Most of these initiatives support the implementation of the findings and recommendations of the Active Transportation Plan that was developed in 2018. Further initiatives have also been identified for the longer term of up to 20 years. Priorities for parks development initiatives have also been identified, with short-term emphasis on outdoor amenities associated within the hamlet of Langdon, outdoor amenities in Conrich, and investigation of potential sports field locations in Lower Springbank. The proposed capital budget for the identified priorities is approximately $7 million over the next 5 years and an additional $41 million in 5 to 10 years. A further $48 million is proposed for 10 to 20 years. Some of the short-term priorities involve advancing projects beyond the initiation phase to further define and develop the initiatives so they are ready for construction when capital funding becomes available. Various sources of funding have been identified, such as provincial and federal funding programs, sales of municipal reserve lands, cash in lieu, voluntary contributions from developers, and debt financing. These sources may be complemented from a proposed community services levy for new developments in the county and community group fundraising. These proposals would contribute to the existing reserve and future investments proposed by the Large Project Capital Funding Initiative. To further support the public recreation system, it has been proposed that the county develop opportunities to facilitate recreation programming within the community. There is capacity within many community facilities to support more programming opportunities. Support offered by the county to foster programming in existing community facilities, particularly those that are volunteer operated, could bring opportunities to many areas within the county, particularly in agricultural leisure orientation areas. In a leading role, additional recommendations have been proposed within the master plan to create systems to assist community facilities throughout the county to attract bookings. This initiative would complement the facilitation of recreation programming and is intended to further aid volunteer-based facilities and encourage additional recreation opportunities to be brought into the community. Recreation facilities throughout the county are principally operated by volunteers or governed by volunteer boards that are supported by paid staff. The community has greatly benefited from the support provided by volunteer-based operations. However, a common theme in the Recreation Needs Assessment Study was that these organizations are challenged to attract volunteers. As well, agile programming, technology use, and other operational complexities have necessitated specialized staffing and systems to develop and manage recreation facilities. Other rural municipalities have had similar experiences, and some have recently opted to operate their facilities rather than relying so heavily on volunteers. In some cases, municipalities operate the facilities with internal staff, while in other cases the operations are contracted to private companies. It has been recommended that the county consider these kinds of options for new recreation facilities, and a framework has been proposed for evaluation of operational models for new projects. This presentation has provided a summary of the Rocky View County Recreation and Parks Master Plan. You can provide input and feedback to what you have heard in this presentation by accessing a feedback form at www.yourviews.ca/planfeedback. You can also send comments by email to rvc@hargroup.ca. The Recreation and Parks Master Plan will be presented to Council for consideration in December 2020. Thank you, and we look forward to hearing from you.